Welcome to the Explainer. For centuries, people have been searching for ways to process pain, right? We're always looking for that structure to find some kind of healing. Well, today we are going to unpack a deeply thematic and honestly highly structured concept of exactly that. We're looking at a specific journey from pain to peace. Sometimes the shortest texts carry the heaviest frameworks, and we're going to see exactly how our source constructs this narrative, step by step. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our source material is anchored by one very specific premise: God can heal your broken heart. Now, analyzing this text impartially, we can see that within this specific Christian framework, emotional pain isn't just treated as a random, unfortunate side effect of life. Not at all. Instead, the broken heart is the recognized starting point for divine intervention. It's the exact condition that makes the rest of the narrative even possible.
Actually, think about it for a second. How do you seek peace at the start of your day? Maybe it's brewing a fresh cup of coffee, heading out for a morning walk, or just sitting in total silence for 5 minutes before you even look at your phone. I want you to hold on to whatever that routine is for you, because we are going to deconstruct exactly how our source specifically uses the morning, literally that very first part of the day, as a massive catalyst for finding profound peace and resolution.
Which brings us straight to Section 1, the broken heart, the starting condition.
So before we can even talk about morning routines or finding peace, we absolutely have to look at the inciting condition the text gives us. The broken heart is defined objectively here as the initial state of emotional pain or conflict. In the context of this source, it's positioned as the necessary prerequisite. Basically, it's the baseline state. Without this initial fracture, without this specific type of emotional conflict, the whole process of divine healing outlined in the text literally wouldn't have a foundation to build upon. So that leaves us with a pretty profound question. How does the healing begin? If the broken heart is step one, that heavy, difficult starting point we just talked about, what actually triggers the transition out of that pain? How do we get from point A to point B? Well, the source gives us a highly specific temporal mechanism to answer that.
Moving on to Section 2, the morning prayer for peace, the mechanism.
And this brilliantly illustrates how deliberate the source material is. It doesn't just offer some vague suggestion to pray. No, it specifically points to the morning prayer for peace as a distinct tool, a method, and crucially, a designated time. The text intentionally links the active pursuit of peace to the absolute beginning of the day. It's basically suggesting that the timing of the action is just as important as the action itself.
Let's move along and see how this builds. When we piece these concepts together, they form a highly structured chronological healing arc. Check it out. Step 1 is the condition, the broken heart. Step 2 is the action, the morning prayer for peace. And step 3 is the result, divine healing. It is a super clear, sequential, and logical path laid out in just a handful of words.
But we really need to be precise about how this framework operates. The mechanism relies heavily on the belief that God can heal. In this specific Christian framework, the morning prayer itself isn't actually acting as the ultimate healer. Instead, the prayer is just the vehicle used to access it. The actual healing, the fixing of that broken heart, is attributed directly and entirely to divine intervention. So the prayer is the call, and the divine is the response.
Which brings up a really fascinating thought for us to reflect on. Why start in the morning? Psychologically and historically, mornings have universally been viewed across so many cultures as mental and spiritual resets. It's a time when our cognitive slate is wiped relatively clean from whatever burdens we carried yesterday. By anchoring this practice to the start of the day, the source effectively aligns the physical reality of a new sunrise with the spiritual goal of transforming a broken state into a peaceful one. It's literally using the psychological momentum of a brand new day to kickstart the healing process.
That takes us into Section 3, a powerful Christian story, the final resolution.
Now, what's really interesting about this next point is the stark contrast it presents. We're moving from the raw, initial pain of a broken heart to a complete and total transformation. In this text, the before and after state implies an absolute shift. The subject is brought completely out of a place of isolated suffering and steps right into a space of finalized, tangible testimony.
Because according to the text, the ultimate result isn't just quiet internal peace. The culmination of this morning prayer and the subsequent healing is explicitly deemed a powerful Christian story. And that is a really vital distinction. It indicates that the healing process has an external purpose. It becomes a narrative designed to be shared with others. It's essentially turning personal internal pain into a very public testament, a structured story of overcoming.
So the crucial point is that this source isn't just offering a comforting phrase. It's outlining a complete, actionable journey. From the inciting pain of a broken heart, right through the deliberate, timed mechanism of a morning prayer for peace, all the way to the ultimate resolution of a shareable, powerful story. Which leaves us with a final thought today. How do narratives of peace and healing, whatever personal framework you might use, shape the way you approach your own mornings? Does the way you deliberately start your day dictate the peace you're able to carry through it? It's definitely something to think about tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the frameworks around you.